Hi, everyone, and welcome to our 8th and final episode of the Full Steam Ahead series, which is actually also the final episode of HomeSpace. So, my name's Kaylin, and with me, as always, I have Neve.
Hi, everyone.
And today's episode is actually pre-recorded. So instead of only having some of the DreamSpace team in the background, we have the entire DreamSpace team in the background ready to answer any questions that you have. So even though it's pre-recorded, we will still be there to answer some questions at the very end of the episode. So remember to put the webinar on pause at any point if you have those questions. Before we get started today, I do also want to let you know that the PDF for last week, all of that game design that we did last week and the special home challenge that we got from Athanasios is on our Wakelet now. So remember to check that out at the end of this episode and it'll help you with your game. But for now, let's get started with our episode for today. Play the video. Okay, so we're very lucky today because we have two special guests with us. We don't only have one. We have Pam O'Brian and Chris Reina. Hi, guys.
How are you?
Hi, Kaylin.
Hi, so thank you for joining us today. So our first question is, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your role is? Pam, if you'd like to go first.
Okay, so as it says there, I'm from Tipperary, very proud of that fact. I'm a lecturer in LIT in the IT department, so that's Limerick Institute of Technology. And I teach mainly on our Thurles campus on our games design and data analytics programs. We also work quite extensively with teachers in both primary and secondary schools and also students, and we've done that over a number of years. We're very excited about the fact that computer science is now a subject at Leaving Cert level. And we have been, I suppose, supporting those teachers and students over the last number of years. So it's great to see that computer science is now recognised as an important subject at Leaving Cert. I suppose how I got to where I've gotten to, as it says there, I have a variety of jobs to get to where I am now. I was a coder when I came out of college first. So my background is I did a degree in applied mathematics in University of Limerick, but I would never have foreseen that my first job out of college would have been as a programmer, because I was what you might term a reluctant programmer, a reluctant coder. It wasn't something I foresaw. And yet now it's one of the things that I'm probably best known for. I'm a Coder Dojo mentor. I'm very passionate about coding and just all things, I suppose, technology and education. Yeah. I'm not sure, is there anything else?
No, that's okay. So Chris, do you want to tell us, a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Kaylin, sure. So my name is Chris Reina. I part of a company called MakerMeet, and we provide workshops, maker-led workshops to schools, everything from preschool to primary, secondary, third level, and adults, corporations, businesses, almost anything really. So we're makers. What we do is we make different things. As Pam was saying, that can be anything from computer science to building geodesic domes, to working with cardboard, paper, almost anything. But we do it from an educational standpoint.
Okay, so both very interesting roles. So Pam, do you want to tell us a little bit about, did you want to do this when you were a child? Did you want to grow up and be so involved in everything you're in now?
I couldn't even have imagined what I ended up being. So I suppose, as I said, I started as a programmer when I came out of college. I was also a statistician, and now I've been a lecturer for a number of years, and I would never have foreseen myself standing in front of people teaching. I would have been, I suppose, very shy as a child. So if somebody told me I was going to be a teacher of any kind, I would have said absolutely no way. I think it's important as well, maybe to be open to things, because I went into college to do maths because I enjoyed maths, but I didn't really know what I was going to come out as. And I think sometimes, we want to know what we're going to do, but you need to be a little bit open to things and just to, I suppose, to see what might be possible rather than telling yourself what is possible. So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's extremely important, especially for if we have any watchers who are choosing college courses, that it doesn't necessarily determine your entire life what course you do.
Absolutely not. And I'm not finished yet either.
I don't think any of us can say that we've reached that yet, but yeah. So Chris?
Yeah, so very similar, I would say, to Pam as well. I had no idea really what I wanted to be. Of course, I wanted to be a superhero when I was young. And sometimes I do tend to wear a red cape, but that's another story. Through my life, I suppose I've been lots of different things. I started off as a graphic designer. I've been a computer technician. I've been a teacher, trainer. I'm a magician. I'm a juggler. I blow fire. I've done lots and lots of different jobs, and I tend to still do many of them now, but I ended up as a maker. It's quite funny because part of the things I tell people is that I've been making stuff for 49 years, and I'm 51 years of age. So realistically, I started, and I only realized it much later in life, maybe between 8-10 years ago. I realized that I am a maker, and that is my passion, and I love making things and figuring out how the world works. And I would very much echo what Pam said in terms of saying that to students, anybody watching as well. Try lots and lots of different things. See the things that you like, but try lots of different things and explore the world.
Amazing. It's brilliant that you're doing something that you're so passionate about. And I wish we had gotten you to show us you breathing fire, because that would have been an interesting part of the episode.
The next one, all right. That could be the next one.
So Pam, do you want to tell us about a favorite project that you've ever worked on?
Okay, well, I suppose just to pick up on what Chris was talking about, I didn't even know what Maker Education was probably 10 years ago, but I came to Maker Education through the work that I do with teachers. As I mentioned, I'm very passionate about integrating technology in education, and I've ran the ICT in Education Conference, which is an annual conference for teachers across all levels. And over the years, I suppose we've been bringing more Maker Education concepts into that conference, and that has evolved over the last few years. So my favorite project, and there are a lot of projects I've been involved in, but I suppose my favorite one is where we constructed a geodesic dome and exhibited it at Maker Faire Rome. So a geodesic dome is a hemispherical structure, and I have one here made of paper. So if you can see it here, it's made from triangles. So each of the individual components is a triangle, and you put those triangles together, and that then gives you this hemisphere structure, which looks very interesting when it's made out of paper, but we actually made a 20-foot one and exhibited it at Maker Faire Rome. So we actually used it as a classroom when we were at Maker Faire Rome. And Chris is, I suppose, the brains behind the geodesic dome. We used a lot of bamboo. We used more hot glue than I care to talk about. And we hauled it all to Rome in the heat, and we exhibited it there. So that has to be my favorite project. One of the things that is probably little known is that we actually met. I live in Tipperary, Chris lives in Kerry. We met in Adair in a public park there and constructed it for the first time one Sunday morning with my daughter and Chris's son. And it was good fun, but there's a lot of work involved. And this is what I love about Maker Education, because you're bringing, maths, you're bringing science, you're bringing a bit of engineering, and you're bringing it all together. So it's that cross-curricular nature is really good.
Yeah, that's such a cool project to have worked on.
It was really fun.
Yeah, and Chris, your favorite?
Yeah, I suppose I would echo what Pam said in terms of the geodesic dome. That was probably the biggest project that we've worked on to date, which was amazing. But so a very close second would be I worked on a project for Science Week, and I built 2 kiosks for people who were coming into a science fair to, I suppose, enter information into and return a result. So that involved a lot of things. It involved woodwork, it involved painting, it involved coding, it involved electronics and wiring and loads of things that all came together to make one big project. And it was just a lovely thing to have done because of the diversity of the number of things that were involved in creating it. There was no hot glue involved in that one, though.
I want in on that one.
And then, is there anything that either of you would like to promote or like to tell our people at home, our viewers? Pam?
Just, I suppose, the promoting is just about Maker Education, and just make things, learn through making. Because when you're making, you're constructing things in different ways, you're constructing learning in different ways. And I suppose one of the things, I love origami, and I think anyone who knows me now, they kind of associate me with origami. But basically with origami, you're taking a sheet of paper just like this and you're folding it in different ways. And so you can create maybe just a cube that looks a little bit like this. And if you put those cubes together, you can create something like this. So this is 12 different cubes, each of which has 12 sheets of paper. So from 144 flat sheets of paper, you've got this beautiful 3D artwork, really. And it's that idea, and that's just one aspect of maker education. But you know, there's the domes and there's all the other things. You know, you can make something like this as well. So it's just that idea of making something, but like with all of these, you're using maths, you're using, you know, all these different concepts together. I think sometimes we put subjects in boxes now. So there's
Yeah.
maths and there's, you know, the science, but they're all interconnected in the world around us. They're all interconnected. So for example, even with the geodesic dome that we have here, you know, any dome structures that you see on buildings, they might not use the geodesic dome, but there are, you know, there's maths behind it, and they've had to use that kind of maker concept to try and figure out. And a lot of the time, yeah, you do make maybe a paper copy first, and then you use those concepts and you look and see where, you know, where are my weaknesses? How can I make this stronger?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen that over the last few weeks with all of the challenges that you've made as well. You know, what are you learning? How are you putting the information together? So that's it for me, really. It's just that idea of, because when you're making, you're playing, really.
Yeah.
So you're learning through play.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we love to promote here as well, is that you're having fun, but you're developing these skills that are necessary to live in the world that we live in. And I was lucky enough to receive one of Pam's beautiful origami. It beautifies my office and makes it nice and colorful. So thank you, Pam, for that.
You're very welcome.
And Chris, is there anything you'd like to promote?
Sure. Well, I mean, very similar to Pam in the idea of maker-led education. I suppose being part of MakerMeet, you know, we give workshops and things like that in schools. And what we consistently try to do is we try to make the workshops simpler and simpler as we go on. So we start off quite complicated, but we bring it down to its basic components and really try to simplify things. And that suits everything from, no matter what level of education you're at, primary and secondary. It's all about, I suppose, systems and how things work and how things fit together. Not necessarily electronics, but everything from your own computer system to the human body. I know when you were on with Colin, you made lungs and things like that. So that's also learning how systems work. That's learning how the respiratory system works and things like that. And that's what maker education is about. It's about learning those things, and it's about combining, very much as you know yourselves, the STEAM. So your science and technology, engineering and arts, and maths, because most of those things are involved in every kind of a project that we certainly would run, and every project involved in maker education and things like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're very passionate about that as well.
Yeah.
So thanks. And last one is just fun fact that you'd like to say. So Pam,
I suppose I've kind of used my fun fact,
yeah.
which was that I love origami. So there you go.
Perfect. And Chris.
Sure, yeah. Let's see, fun facts. I suppose two things. One is I have a cat. I actually have two cats, but one of them, the cat adopted us, and his name is Jacob, and he's only got 3 legs.
Oh.
But he's an absolutely lovely cat, and he gets around everywhere. It has been put forth that we should try and figure out how to make him a 4th leg and things like that. But he seems to get along fine with the 3, so that's okay. The only other fun fact I have is that during my time of making things, I suppose I would like to point out that making is not always about that. Making can be anything. So we do a lot of cooking and baking. So I can make a cake from just 2 ingredients. And those ingredients are self-raising flour and ice cream. And that's it.
Oh, I want that. I want
It
that
is.
recipe.
It's lovely. I will give you the recipe. In fact, you know what? We'll put it up on the website afterwards as well, so
Perfect.
people can go and get it. Yeah.
Excellent. And I love how your cat chose you similar to a Pokemon.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So thank you both for all of that. You're going to stay with us for the rest of the webinar, and you have some exciting things to tell us at the end as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So thank you for that. But for now, I'm going to pass on over to Niamh, who's going to tell us a little bit about our challenge today and about the themes of our episode.
Thanks, Kaylin. We're very lucky to have 2 incredibly talented people on with us today as guest speakers. So Pam, there, your origami was fantastic. And Chris, there's no end to your talents. But today we're focusing, our challenge is called Maker Meets Steam. And it's based on two different themes. So it's based around engineering and construction. So today we're going to try and build a bridge that can withstand a certain weight. Okay, and in order to do that, we've drawn up a list of recommended materials, which can be found on our Wakelet under the Full Steam Ahead series. So we'd recommend that if you have these materials available to you, that you pick one item from each of the different sections, from the blue, the yellow and the green section. But if you don't, again, you can improvise and use whatever you have available to you at home. Okay, so what do we need to know about bridges in order to construct one? Well, I've loads of cool fun facts about bridges for us today. So in 2019, our Taoiseach Leo Varadkar opened officially the Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy Bridge on the M11 motorway in Wexford. And that bridge cost €400 million to build. So it cost a lot of money, and it's actually our longest spanning bridge in Ireland. However, it's not the longest spanning bridge in the world. The longest spanning bridge in the world is 79,734 meters long. So it's very long, and it'd take quite a long time to walk along the bridge. And it's in China, and it was built in 2008. However, it's actually not the most famous bridge. The most famous bridge is the Ponte Vecchio in Florence. And it's actually the most famous bridge because it gets the most visitors each year. And the reason why it's so famous is because of all the shops that have been built along it. And the reason why shops built along the bridge was because that bridge was so strong that it survived a bomb strike during World War II. Okay. However, we also hear about other famous bridges like the Golden Gate Bridge, and it also gets quite a lot of visitors every year to see the bridge and the structure of it. And the Golden Gate Bridge can be found in San Francisco. I actually have visited myself, and it's quite incredible. So, what do we need to think about when we're actually constructing a bridge? Well, what are bridges made of? So, nowadays, bridges are generally made of concrete and steel. However, back a couple of years ago, they used to be made of wood, stone, and ropes, and sometimes a mixture of those materials. But it's actually not that, it's not only a couple of years ago, it's quite a long time ago. But they also were fit for purpose back then. But nowadays, due to engineers becoming more diverse, they're able to think about how to make the bridges even stronger so that they're able to carry larger weights, such as more traffic, and that they're able to withstand things like earthquakes and different types of weather. So now we're going to focus on how we're going to make our bridge with the materials we have available to us. So I'm going to pass over to Kaylin, and Kaylin's going to get started.
Thanks, Niamh. Okay, so our challenge for today, which was actually given to us by our amazing guest speakers, is to plan and construct your own bridge that's at least 30 centimeters long. But for this bridge, you can only use one of those materials in the first box on the material challenge, on the materials page. Then you have to test it out and see if it can withstand a weight of 100 grams. And the bridge must withstand this weight for at least 5 seconds. Okay, so what do we want to think about before we get started with our build? Well, how could you use the equipment, so the equipment that you have chosen, to make sure that the bridge is sturdy? How could you change or manipulate this equipment to make it even stronger? Would the weight or the strength of the material affect your build, affect if it's able to stand up in the way that you have planned or designed? And how can the structure or the shape of your bridge affect the outcome? So bridges come in all shapes and sizes. I'm sure you've seen flat bridges, you've seen curved bridges. So will the shape of your bridge affect how it's able to withstand a weight? Okay, so now we're going to get started on our challenge. Okay, so I've gathered up everything I need here, and the material that I've chosen for my bridge today is some old newspapers. Then for my weight, what I've done is I've just put some quinoa into a plastic bag that I'm going to use for my 100-gram weight. I also have grabbed my 2 shoe boxes from my previous builds, and that's what I'm going to do to create the 2 roads that we need to connect for our bridge. I have a ruler as well to measure out to make sure that it's 30 centimeters, and I have my tape as well. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is build the gap. Okay, so we have my gap there, which is 30 centimeters long. Okay, and now we need to work out how are we going to use our paper to connect both of these boxes so that it's able to withstand the weight. So we need to make sure that it's structurally sound. Let's test out one sheet of paper to see how it holds up. Okay, so I have one sheet here, and I'm just going to fold it over and see how that holds up with our weight. Okay, so that wasn't strong enough. So we need to create something stronger. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab a few pieces of paper. I'm going to roll it up, and then I'm going to plait it together to make it stronger and see if that works. I'm going to put a bit of sellotape here to keep them together when I'm plaiting them. Okay, I'm going to now build another one of these plaits to put up beside it for our road. So for plaiting, all that we're doing is bringing the one from the outside and bringing it in back to the middle. Then bringing the one from the other side and bringing it into the middle. That's all I'm doing. I'm just bringing the outside one into the middle the whole way down. Okay, so I'm going to bring back in my boxes now. Okay, and time to test out and see if my bridge will withstand the weight. For 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so my bridge seemed to stand up quite well. Let's try and test it out with a heavier weight. Okay, so with the heavier weight, these two separated. So what could I do to make it so that it could still withstand the same weight, but that they wouldn't separate like that? What could I do to edit my build to try and get it to work like that? Okay, everyone, so that was my build. So you could see there at the end that I had my two parts of the bridge, and though it was able to withstand the 100 grams, when I put something heavier on it, it separated. So I want you to pause now and put it into the Q&A section. Tell us, what do you think I could have done to my build to make it so that it could withstand an even heavier weight? But I want to ask, I'm curious, Chris and Pam, what did you think of my build of the bridge?
Pam?
Well, I love the fact that you showed that the sheet of paper on its own wasn't enough, and it's kind of similar to when I was talking about the origami earlier. I start with a single sheet of paper, but actually by folding it or by doing something to it, you make it structurally different. So, for example, when I fold those those sheets of paper, and I get a unit and put them together, now I've got a cube which is actually quite strong, whereas the individual sheets of paper aren't. So it's that idea of doing something to the paper and how do you, and I like the idea of testing as you go as well. So that's a concept that comes into computer science as well, because you're prototyping, you're testing as you go, you're making adjustments as you go, you're refining your build all the time, and that's really important in maker education. So that's my I suppose ideas on what you did.
Thanks, Pam. And Chris?
I would say the same. Yeah, it was amazing. I love the idea of the simplicity of it as well. The idea of braiding something together to make different strands much, much stronger is used in many, many aspects of making things. If you can do the same with rope, You can do the same with string. You can certainly do the same with hair. When you braid something together, in fact, if you look at steel cables on some bridges, those steel cables are actually woven together very similar to that as well, with more strands to keep them tight together. So that was just an amazing build. Actually, it was fantastic. Really good. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we'll be able to hear some of the ideas from our watchers at home as well and see what they come up with. But I'm going to pass you on over to Niamh now, and Niamh is going to go through what we learned today and start off with one of our home challenges.
Thanks, Caleb. Okay, so we learned loads of different things today. We learned about the most famous bridge in the world, the Ponte Vecchio, which survived a bomb strike during World War II, so it was quite sturdy. We also learned about the longest bridge in the world, which is in China and was built in 2008 and spans 79,734 meters. So that's how long it is. We learned about the longest spanning bridge in Ireland, the Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy Bridge, which was officially opened by our Taoiseach Leo Varadkar in 2019. We also learned what materials are used in the building of bridges. So nowadays, concrete and steel. However, in the olden days, wood, rope, and stone was used. And we also learned how to build our very own bridge. So we got so much covered. So today we're actually very lucky because we've got loads of home challenges for you to keep you busy over your summer period, okay? So I'm going to introduce the first home challenge, and then I'm going to introduce Pam and Chris to come in with their 2 home challenges each. So we 5 altogether. So you're going to be super busy. So although on the downside that this series is actually finished today, you'll have loads and loads of work to keep you busy. So my home challenge for you today is to plan and construct your very own bridge that can withstand a certain amount of weight. So you can decide how much weight you want it to withstand. And then if we say you test it and it can't hold that much weight, you can drop your weight, or you can maybe change your build a little bit and try and see what you could do to maybe make it more sturdy or make it able to actually withstand that weight. So that's the first one. And now I'm going to ask Pam to come in and maybe introduce her 2 home challenges.
Thanks, Niamh. So our first home challenge is paper towers, and this one is really straightforward in the materials that you need. So you need 10 sheets of A4 paper. Now you can use any kind of paper, but this is just regular printer paper. And we're specifically saying 10 sheets just so that you have enough that you can make a decent tower, but that it's not too much, because the more you have, sometimes, you know, you're not as innovative in how you come about creating your tower if you have too much paper. So as you can see on the right hand side, I've got a picture there of, we've done this paper tower challenge with a number of different groups, from, you know, students in school right through to teachers who are sitting on our program in LIT, for teachers for upskilling for computer science. And you can see there that we have a paper tower, and what we're doing really is you're taking, again, it's similar to what we've already talked about before, you're taking your sheet of paper and you're folding it in different ways. Now the one on the right hand side, it seems to be folded in kind of rectangular shapes, but I know people have folded it in triangular shapes, in circular shapes. So again, have a try of the different shapes that you can make from the paper and test as you go. I've used a 100-gram bag of rice. This might actually be the one that's in that picture that's there. But what I've done is, no more than what Kaylin did, I've measured out 100 grams of rice. I've double bagged it so that it doesn't go all over the place. But you can use this over and over and over again. So you can use it with your bridge, you can use it for this paper tower challenge as well. And really, the only instructions are you can only use the paper. So you can't use tape, you can't use paper clips, you can't use anything to keep it together. So that's really important in this one. It's just the paper. So what I would suggest you do is try your first layer and, you know, test it with your bag of rice or bag of whatever it is, whatever your weight is, and then go for add another layer, again, test and see how you're going. And if you need to make refinements, make the refinements as you go. What you often find, and what we found over the years that we've been doing this challenge with people, is people have a very stable structure from one level, and then as they go up, it gets more difficult to sustain the bag of rice on it. So it's again that refinement, but we do that in everything we do anyway. You're making something, you're prototyping, just like you did, Kaylin, in your bridge challenge that you had as well. So you're refining as you go, because you find that what you've already put in place isn't enough to, you know, to broaden it or to do what it is that you need to do. So that's just that first one, the paper towers one. The second one is a similar kind of a challenge. It's called the Marshmallow Challenge. A number of you might have heard of this one. So in this one, we're using, again, the materials are quite specific in this one. It's just 20 sticks of dried spaghetti, which I think most people will have at home. You've got 1 meter of sticky tape, 1 meter of any kind of string or wool or any yarn or anything like that, and then just 1 large marshmallow for the top. Again, if you can see on the left hand side, this is just one that has been made. I'm not sure, this one might have actually been made up in the DreamSpace when we were there for EU Maker Week 2 years ago, or for another Maker Meet. But you can see here that you're trying to make as tall a structure as you can using just those materials. So the spaghetti, the sticky tape, and the string. Now, one of the things you need to be careful here of is spaghetti is quite robust, but actually it breaks quite easily as well. So you really need to be careful how you put it together. The aim of the game is to build the tallest structures you can using just those materials, and you need to have the marshmallow at the top, and that's really important. So again, it's just that idea of making something and having something at the top. So those are the two challenges that I'd like to share with people.
Those are fantastic, Pam. And now I'm going to hand you over to Chris, and Chris is going to give us 2 additional home challenges. We're very lucky this week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Niamh. So the first challenge is cup stacking. So this used to be a game a couple of years ago where it was called speed stacking, and you'd have to stack cups using your hands as often or as quickly as possible, as high as you can go within a period of time. There's no time limit to this, but what I'd like you to do is if you gather up just a couple of pieces of yarn or string, an elastic band, and cups, and even different size cups. So if you can see in the picture here, we have a couple of different sizes. So there's slightly larger clear cups and slightly smaller white cups. Then what you do is you tie your string to each corner of a circle, and you have to do this with another person. So get your brothers and sisters, your parents involved, and each of you grab a piece of the string and try and pick up the cup and stack it on top of the other cups to make as tall a tower as you can. Now, the limitation here is that you're not allowed to use any other part of your body. You can only hold the string, and that's all. It seems very easy at first, but it can be more complicated. In fact, once I just give you a tip, once you pick it up, that's quite easy, but it's the taking apart or taking off the elastic band that's complicated. So that's the first challenge. A second challenge that I have for you is just to make a vehicle of almost any kind. So really what I'd like you to do is just have a look around the house. And again, as Kaylin and Niamh would say, that you can pause the video here for the moment and you can go and gather up some materials. Ask your parents, ask anything, even dig through the rubbish a little bit and have a look and see if you can find some cardboard boxes, or even if you can find a milk carton. Pam has a milk carton there, she's holding up at the bottom. And even the top of the milk carton makes excellent wheels. So all you need to do is just very carefully and ask your parents to help you if you can poke a little hole in it, and you can put a straw in or a bamboo stick or anything like that to make the wheels and tape it together. And as a final portion of that challenge, we want to, rather than just pushing it, we want you to try and power that car. So this would go back, if you were watching through the videos, this would go back to, I believe, week 2 when you were talking about rockets and thrust. So if you get a balloon and perhaps some straws and you tape the balloon to the straws, you'll be able to blow up the balloon on the car. And when you let go of the straw, the car should fly along the floor by itself.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. And everyone's watching in, they're so lucky they're going to be kept busy. But just in case there's not enough challenges there, I think, Chris, you're going to talk about another resource where people can find more STEAM challenges to keep them busy over the summer period.
Sure, quite right, yeah. So just there's a web link that'll be up on your screen there. So if you just want to take it down, it's just bit.ly/full-steam-ahead, and that will bring you to our website. And the 4 challenges that we've just set for you for the summer will be up there and explained as PDFs. You can download those and try them. We'll also have some other challenges up there. Some will be science-based, some will be origami, folding-based, and we'll have different ones for you to try up there as well. And of course, you can keep trying back and look, we're adding things generally every week, maybe every couple of weeks, something like that. We'll add up some new challenges and things like that. And so if you don't get that, you can just go to MakerMeet.ie and look for the blog, and you'll find all the challenges up there.
Perfect.
Just one other thing on those challenges. I suppose you can do them on your own, but you can also work together on them. So, you know, when you do get to the point where you can meet your friends and do some of these challenges, you could actually do some of those challenges with your friends over the summer as well.
Be great to have some friendly competition with your friends
Exactly.
to see.
Yeah. Especially the cup stacking challenge requires at least 2 people. So you'd have to have at least 2 people to do the cup stacking challenge. You won't be able to do it yourself. So yeah, as you say, when we can all get back together, get your friends together, get as many plastic cups as you can and stack them as high as you can. I can tell you that in a school in Mayo, that we did this challenge at, I believe they stacked it as high as one of the students themselves, which was about 3 feet tall. So that was quite tall. So you have to see if you can beat that.
Okay, very good. And we'll put this link available on our Wakelet as well. So if you didn't get it down now, we'll put it up on our Wakelet so that you can grab it there as well.
Okay, so if any of you are going to create these challenges, if you want to maybe take some pictures of what you've achieved and share them on social media and either tag DreamSpace or tag MakerMeet.ie on that, we'd love to see what you've created.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say a huge thank you to Pam and Chris for joining us today. You've been absolutely amazing and providing us with so much creative ideas and challenges that we can get stuck into now in the coming weeks. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it and have loved having you on with us.
Not at all. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it very much. It was fantastic.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it.
Okay, so that was our episode with Pam and Chris, both who were absolutely amazing, and we loved having them on with us. I did ask a question during that episode about the bridge that I built, and I asked the question, would you be able to add something to my bridge or change something about it to make it so that it will work better and will be able to hold a stronger weight? And I've been looking through the Q&A, and I can see one here says that I could have woven paper through the plats to keep them together, which would have been a brilliant idea, because we did say that you could only use one material with the paper. I saw another one who said I could have wrapped a sheet of paper around both of the braids to hold them together, and both would work. So they were brilliant ideas there. Niamh, I think you were looking through the Q&A section and you found one as well.
I was indeed, and I see a question here. How could you make the bridge challenge more difficult? So there's someone wanting to challenge themselves further.
Okay, that's a really good question. So there's a number of ways that you could do this. We said that you could use only one material and then something sticky to hold it together. But what you could do is challenge yourself to only use one material. So for example, only use lollipop sticks and see how would you be able to stack them on top of each other or weave them together to make them strong enough to hold up the weight of 500 grams. Another thing that you could do is try and increase that weight or increase the distance. So make it so that instead of it only being 30 centimeters apart, it's 60 centimeters and it needs to hold up 1 kilogram. Okay, so try and challenge yourself a little bit with those ones. Really good question, and it's great to see that people are challenging themselves as well. Okay, so that seems to bring us to the end of our HomeSpace series and our Full Steam Ahead series here. So I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining in with us and following along with us on our STEAM journey. We have loved every second and every challenge that we've done and interviewing all of our amazing guests. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of our guests. And as always, thanks to Engineer Ireland for supporting us. Do remember that you can catch everything that we have said that is on our Wakelet at the link that is on the screen at the moment, including the PDF from last week, the link that Chris and Pam did, our home challenges from Nora, our home challenges from Colin, all of our extra home challenges and everything are on the Wakelet. So thank you so much for joining us and have a lovely summer.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.